The foregoing concepts and principles will inform and clarify many issues in the analysis of trade and the SDGs. We now turn to questions of the mechanisms by which trade operates. In an economy without trade, all domestic demand by consumers must be met from domestic production. That means that productive resources like capital, land, and labor must be allocated across the entire range of consumer goods. It also means that prices in the economy reflect only the interaction of domestic demand and supply. The rest of the world, taken as a whole, has different resource endowments and different patterns of demand to those of any single country. It follows that prices that prevail in world markets most likely differ from those in our non-trading economy. These price differences provide all countries with the incentive and the opportunity to gain through trade and specialization. This is the doctrine of comparative advantage. When countries engage in trade at the prices prevailing in world markets, domestic producers respond by reassigning productive resources to the activities that are now more rewarding at the new prices. This means that inputs, such as labor services, are priced according to the value that they produce, even if they do not enter directly into the trade. For example, a trade-induced change in the production mix from less to more labor-intensive will increase the relative demand for labor and may push up wages. Labor is the most important resource owned by households, especially poor households. What happens to employment and wages has a direct and large effect on household incomes. Labor is more productive when combined with greater quantities of capital, land, or other inputs, or with better technologies. That is how capital investment raises labor incomes, even if all the capital invested belongs to foreigners. In poor countries, FDI that matches with an abundant resource, such as labor in Bangladesh or Cambodia, increases labor demand, creates new jobs, and may raise wages as well. Because their labor is their most important asset, poor households benefit directly from increases in capital investment, as well as similar changes that raise labor demand. The labor market channel is the most obvious and direct connection from trade to the economic SDGs, especially to SDG 1, the elimination of poverty. Cambodia provides a very clear example of how trade alters incomes. The garment industry accounts for more than 80% of the country's export and employs over 400,000 workers, 90% of which are women. More than 90% of garment factories in Cambodia are foreign-owned. Without trade, Cambodia's apparel industry would serve only the domestic market and would thus be very small indeed. With trade, the entire world is potentially a market for apparel products produced in Cambodia. So long as the country remains competitive relative to others, it can expand its sales and thus employment in the apparel industry. The benefits of this export-led growth are very widely distributed because nearly everyone depends on labor for income. When wages rise because of competition for new workers, they rise for nearly all workers regardless of their occupation or sector. In addition, workers in the apparel industry often support their extended families through remittances, thus further spreading the gains from export-led growth.